Very good. Very nice. So sometimes we question or we just want to know or develop who we want to be. And so when we say that phrase, who do you want to be? We're not asking if you'd like to be a completely new person in a different body, right? Particularly like maybe being a famous person, right? You want to switch bodies with them. That's not what who do you want to be, right? That's not going to be switching bodies is not going to be a realistic expectation. But instead, this question is asking what type of person you want to be. Right? What are those qualities that you want to develop? What are those qualities that you want to let go of? So you're not stuck in being the same person you are right now. You can change anytime you want. Every second of the day, you have an opportunity to change the person that you are into something that you want to be. So if there's a quality you want to develop and nurture, you can do that. If there's a quality that is unskillful or hurtful towards someone or yourself, well, then we work on the opposite. It's one of the best things about being a human being. We have that conscious awareness of what is nurturing, what is good, and we have the ability to change that. And so we'll explore tonight some of those good qualities that perhaps you want to develop, those wholesome qualities that make who you want to be who you want to be. And then we'll go over some of those qualities that you'll probably want to avoid, right? And when we avoid those negative qualities, we learn how to work or develop the opposite of those qualities. So some of the more wholesome qualities that we would want in ourselves, because hopefully that is where we want to be. First one I would suggest or recommend is compassion. Right? Being compassionate towards yourself and towards others. We find that when we are cruel, we not only hurt others, but we also hurt ourselves. So being compassionate towards someone else's needs. And being compassionate is a little bit more on the active side. Right? We're doing something to help ease someone's suffering and our own. Another quality is empathy, being empathetic. We all go through hard days and have hard times. And we see it on the television daily, people having hard days and hard times. And understanding that they have the same needs and wants and desires as we do, as you and I, we can share in that experience. That this person who is experiencing these hardships is going through. We all have the same emotions. And so when someone else is feeling sad, perhaps that makes us feel sad. Think about when you watch a television show, even a movie, and you start identifying with somebody who is feeling sad. That's empathy, even if it's a fictional character, but that's an example of empathy. So developing empathy, having those empathetic qualities are something that we would probably want within ourselves to develop and be who we want to be. And patience. Being patient for an outcome is important. It shows wisdom that desired outcomes don't happen overnight. We have to allow the situation to unfold in its natural time. Rushing something, trying to rush an outcome, will almost certainly bring about more suffering. We overlook something, we don't complete a task skillfully, perhaps. And so when we are patient, better, more positive, and quality results will present themselves. In grace, offering someone grace, it's being forgiving. Being forgiving, being graceful. People make mistakes. You've made mistakes. I've made mistakes. Others make mistakes. We don't have to beat down on someone to make ourselves feel better when someone makes a mistake. Recall a time in your life when someone really came down swiftly and very hard on you when you made a mistake, even if it was a simple one. I have several, and most of them stem from early education in elementary and middle school. And so they were not circumstances that I would want to have repeated, and they were just innocent mistakes. So imagine a young child feeling that way. So offering children grace, and certainly offering adults grace, because making mistakes happens all throughout our ages. So being grateful and generous. Being generous with our time. Being generous with our warm emotions towards someone. Perhaps even being generous financially if you're able to. But we're all able to share our kind emotions and time to some degree, right? But we have to monitor our time as well so that it doesn't take away from our well-being at the same time. But we can share. Sharing time with someone else, that type of generosity, is important. It nurtures their confidence. It nurtures your happiness as well. People will always remember the time that you spent with them. And you're uplifting. Being uplifting is another quality. Tearing someone down also tears you down, right? Because when you berate someone, when you belittle someone, not only are you hurting them, but you are hurting yourself. You are belittling yourself. You are showing that you yourself don't have emotional control or balance. You are showing that you don't have empathy towards someone else. But when we're uplifting, we are demonstrating and we are practicing the qualities of compassion and empathy and generosity as well. And we're loving, right? Being loving is another wonderful quality that takes effort sometimes, right? It takes effort sometimes, simply because people make mistakes. They may slip up. But when we open our hearts and realize people are people and they make mistakes, the love for them begins to grow. More beautiful than any garden that you have ever seen. Right? Just like the Beatles said, all you need is love. Or John Lennon, right? All you need is love. And love isn't just romantic, right? It's not just holding hands and kissing. Love is truly seeing someone for who they are and allowing yourself to be vulnerable to that person and to others. Even ones of others that you don't know. and unifying. And that has there's a good overlap between unifying and uplifting as well. Because when we unify others, we recognize their value that this person has to offer. Groups of people, and even individuals. Because if you're able to unify and connect with one person, you can connect with another, and another, and another. And that unifies and solidifies and nurtures well-being for so many people. And we're peaceful. Anger and warlike behavior are very low energy. They require no effort to be angry. That's your very first response oftentimes when somebody makes a mistake. We get angry, right? But when we're peaceful, we go beyond that. We have taken a step back to understand, when I'm peaceful, others are peaceful. We don't need that extra stimulus or those extra sensory type of experiences to put us off balance. Because when we're balanced, we're peaceful. And when we're peaceful, we have wisdom, or we're able to employ wisdom. We have compassion and empathy towards others and so forth. So being peaceful is a wonderful way for us to develop and practice and nurture some of these wholesome qualities that we're trying to develop and strengthen within ourselves. So who you want to be, these are some of the qualities. And last but not least, truthful. Right? We want to be truthful with ourselves, and certainly truthful with others. When we think of being truthful or honest, we oftentimes hear someone say, "Oh, you can be brutally honest with me." But that's hard sometimes because we also understand that this person has feelings and emotions. And no matter how brutally honest someone says, it can still make them feel poorly about themselves. So being truthful also necessitates having some tact in how we speak to someone. Right? So it's also being tactful in delivering an honest, truthful message. Some of the defiling or the unwholesome or the qualities that we really want to avoid would be being indifferent. Indifferent and apathy are very similar, right? Oh, I don't really care what's going on. Oh, I don't really care about someone else's feelings or someone else's situation. Although we can't control everybody's situation, sometimes we have a hard time controlling our own situation, but it doesn't mean that we can't be empathetic or have compassion towards them. And to go along with being indifferent would be insensitive, right? Poking fun at someone's hard time, that's being insensitive. When we see someone getting picked on or bullied, being insensitive to how that person feels. Remember, they have the same emotions that you and I do. And so when we are insensitive to someone else's needs of security, of safety, of love, compassion, and empathy, we're also doing a disservice to ourselves. We're allowing that negative, that apathetic, indifferent qualities to nurture. And that doesn't help people, and that certainly doesn't help us become who we want to be. And also being impatient, right? Impatience is a sign of a lack of wisdom. Impatience is a sign of a lack of wisdom. And it's important to understand because, again, the world and situations will not unfold no matter how much they will not unfold in the way that we want, no matter how much we rush that. So we have to be patient, observe what's going on, and allow it to take its natural path. And greed. Greed stems from a fear of loss, right? Hoarding, right? I have a fear of loss. I have something, and I have worked hard for it, certainly, but I don't want to share it with you, right? Greediness or stinginess, right? It robs us of learning how to be generous. And greed and stinginess doesn't have to be with just money. It can be with time. It can be with emotions. I'm stingy with my love. Could even be jealousy to some degree. But greed stems from a fear of loss. And divisiveness. Dividing people instead of unifying them. When we divide people, whether it's groups or individuals, we create chaos and uncertainty. There's already a lot of uncertainty, not just in the world, but even within our own selves sometimes. Did I make the right decision? Did I make the right choice? And if somebody is poking and prodding you, right, you could become even more divisiveness, right, or divisive or divided. Right? So we want to find out ways to be unifying, because that's the opposite. And bellicose, or angry or violent. We want to avoid that too. Anger consumes. Very seldom do people ever come back like a phoenix, right, from some ashes with anger. Anger and bellicose and violence will always bring about more violence and sadness and anger. And that's also a very base emotion, low energy state. So we try to avoid that. It's not that maybe we might not be disappointed sometimes if something doesn't come our way momentarily, but not allowing violent anger responses to dictate our actions. And lying, right? Certainly the opposite of lying is being truthful. But if you get caught in a lie, right, you lose someone's trust. And you lose your own trust, because then you start to justify why you're lying. Right? So again, when we're truthful, people understand us. It develops trust and confidence, unification. But when you lie and get caught, you'll do some mental gymnastics to justify what you just said. And after a while, you may not even realize you lie so much. It just becomes second nature. And these are certainly some defiling qualities that we do not want to nurture within ourselves. That is not who we want to be as people. And so when we nurture these good qualities, we certainly become a better person. One that others can look up to, have trust and confidence in. You can be their refuge. You could even be that role model that they are looking towards. So nurture those wholesome qualities, those good qualities. And when those defiling or those negative qualities surface, pay attention. Identify it, name it, and work on its opposite. The opposite of greediness is generosity. The opposite of lying is truthfulness. The opposite of being indifferent or insensitive, right? Compassionate, empathy. The opposite of being impatient is patience. So when we find ourselves displaying any of these negative qualities, name it, address it, and work on its opposite. So our next talk is on February 17th at 6 p.m. in the Central Time Zone, and that topic will be on being content. So often we are uncontent with where we are and with what we have. Doesn't mean we can't have goals, right? Something that we want to work towards or whatnot, but also being content with where we are. So more of that on the 17th, February 17th. And with that, my friends, I wish you all an evening of peace, ease, and well-being, and thank you for coming, and we wish you many, many blessings until next time.